everybody. My name is Chef Kyle Williams, here with Elite Cuisine at Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Today we're going to be making a healthy winter casserole dish today. So let's get started. But before we get started, I just want to mention that I've decided not to wear a mask today because no one's in the kitchen. The kitchen is closed today, and would like for you to be able to understand what I'm saying and be able to really see the dish being made. So to start off our recipe, we're going to start off with the vegetable preparation. We have some bell peppers, got some cauliflower, corn I've already taken off the cob, and we're going to chop some mushrooms. Alright guys, so we're chopping our bell pepper here. Get the white parts out. It's kind of not really flavorful. And you can use any bell peppers. You can use green, red, yellow, orange. I always like using color so that way you got a nice, beautiful thing to look at. And we'll just do a julienne. You could dice them if you like, but I like doing a julienne. And make sure when you're cutting that you always do the bear claw. Never cut with your fingers out, so you don't cut your fingertips off. So nice bear claw. Okay. Use our ends so we don't waste any of the pepper. We just throw away the inside seeds and pith. Right, so now we're going to bring our bowl over. Our peppers will go right in the bowl. So now we'll cut our mushrooms. And again, you can use any mushroom you like. You can use shiitake, cremini. These are button mushrooms. Use portobello if you like. Okay, and so we're basically going to finish chopping our vegetables, and we're going to add that to the bowl with our other vegetables, and we're going to season lightly with olive oil, salt, and pepper. And then we're going to bake this in the oven at 350 degrees, and it's always good to start with a preheated oven. So there's our beautiful vegetables: bell peppers, mushrooms, corn. Now if you didn't have corn, you could go with a different vegetable like zucchini, or you could go Brussels sprouts, rutabaga, turnip, whatever you like. Okay. So now we got our vegetables in here. We're going to add some olive oil. Okay. A little bit of salt. A little bit of pepper. We're going to mix this real good. So just a pinch more oil. A little more seasoning in there. Just toss it, make sure it all gets incorporated really well. That looks great. Perfect. We've got our beautiful vegetables here. seasoned up with olive oil, salt, and pepper. And we're going to put that on a sheet pan lined with parchment paper. We want to spread that out real good so it can bake evenly. Now we're not cooking these vegetables all the way. We're just going to par cook them. And if there's any liquid that comes off in the pan, we're going to strain out the liquid. Okay, so that looks beautiful. All right, so we're going to take this to the oven. All right, get those baking at 350. These have been baking for about 10 to 15 minutes. Now we're going to pull those out of the oven. All right, they look beautiful. Okay, there we go. Par roasted vegetables, nice caramelization, nice color. All right, so now we're going to be making our healthy parsnip gravy. It's a nice healthy alternative to like a cream or something a little more decadent with like a flour roux in there. And it's going to be 100% vegetarian, and it will be vegan as well. So we're going to start off with olive oil. Parsnips. Let these saute for a little bit. Add a little bit of salt. A little bit of pepper. All right, and we're going to go and add our diced onion as well now. Give it a little stir. And we're going to add in fresh sage leaves. And then some fresh thyme sprigs. That's kind of what we're working with right now. And now we're going to add some hot water. And you want to add enough water to cover over the parsnips 3 inches. So you have just enough water to cover over the parsnips 3 inches. All right, that's good right there. Give it a little stir. So basically we're going to let this cook until the parsnips are fork tender. We can taste them to make sure it's got enough salt in the broth, but that's pretty much it. All right, so now we're going to be making our parsnip puree. We're going to take the lid off. We're going to make sure that the blender is not on. Okay, so let's make sure that's not on. And so what we did with the parsnip puree is we strained out the solids from the liquid. And we have our olive oil, we have salt and pepper as well. So let's go ahead and put our parsnips in the blender. And so these are cooked all the way through. They're fork tender, they're nice and soft. It's essentially like making mashed potatoes. It's the best way to describe it. But we're just going to put it in the blender. And we're going to leave out the cream and butter and just go olive oil for a healthy fat source. Okay, so now is where we have our parsnips in here. We're going to start off with a little bit of the cooking liquid. And we're just going to add just a little bit. It's probably not enough, so we can always add more. I'm going to go ahead and put a little seasoning in there. A little bit of salt. A little bit of black pepper. Okay. So at this point, we want to put our lid on. And then we're going to make sure it's set at the lowest setting. And we're going to turn it on. Once I turn it on, I'm going to take off this part. And I'm going to slowly drizzle in the cooking liquid and the olive oil until a vortex starts. Okay, so let's go ahead and start this. We'll turn it on. Okay, so now our parsnip gravy is completely done. We'll look at the beautiful consistency. Just like a gravy. Really nice. Okay. So now we're going to assemble the casserole. We do have some cooked brown rice right here. You can also use quinoa. You can use other grains. If you want to keep it gluten-free, you want to use brown rice or quinoa. If you don't mind a little bit of gluten, you could use farro, you could use barley, you could use other grains like that, pearl millet. But this is nice, healthy. It's ready to go. It's cooked. So we have our brown rice. We have the parsnip puree that we made earlier as well. And then the step we did from the very beginning is that we have our roasted vegetables here. They're ready to go. And everything's kind of room temp, and we're getting ready to assemble this casserole. We also have fresh thyme that's been chopped and fresh rosemary that's been chopped as well. All right, so let's begin, guys. So I want to start off with our pan. A little bit of non-stick spray. Nothing worse than having a beautiful casserole and you can't get it out of the dish. We'll put extra in there. That's what you want it to look like. And we are using extra virgin olive oil spray, which is, again, very healthy. And so we'll start off with our brown rice. Now, just again, this is cooked. You don't want to put a dry, uncooked grain in there because it will not cook in enough time. Okay. So we're going to kind of do it in steps and layers. Okay. Kind of mix that around. A little bit of fresh thyme. A little bit of rosemary. And we're going to use a little bit of our vegetables. We are going to save some vegetables for the top so we can put some on the top, so it's going to garnish it and make it look beautiful. And kind of mix those in a little bit and get your hands in there. You can wear gloves. Okay, so we'll mix that around a little bit. Just a little seasoning. Just a little salt. A little bit of pepper. So I'm going to add just a little more rice. All right. So at this point, we're going to add our puree. Okay. So we're going to add our parsnip puree, and then we are going to mix that in. So we'll start off with a little bit less than you think you need. Now just grab a spoon and we're just going to kind of mix this together. Now what the parsnip gravy is going to do, it's going to be our binder. Y'all love cheesy potato casserole. This is kind of like that guilty pleasure that we love, but you know, since it's the winter time, we're trying to eat a little more healthier. Instead of cheese, we're going to have the parsnip puree kind of act as like a cheese binder in there. So it's a little dry. I'm going to add a little bit more. Okay. They definitely do not want it wet and like kind of soupy. You want to keep it a casserole consistency. Kind of like making tuna noodle casserole or cheesy potato casserole. Kind of that same consistency. You don't want it too thick. You don't want it too thin, like it'd be like soup in a pan. So like right now we have a pretty good consistency. Almost kind of like a risotto. A little looser. Just a little more puree. All right, just mix one more final mix at this point. Consistency's looking really good. Now, as it bakes, it will remove some of the moisture. So if it is too dry, by the time you end up baking it, it could get really dry. So you want to make sure it does have some moisture in there with that parsnip puree. Okay, so now we're going to flatten it out. Ready to go in the oven. Okay, so now we're going to add more of our vegetables for the top as a garnish. Okay. It's coming together. It's looking good. And that parsnip puree is going to kind of act like glue for these vegetables. It'll stick right in the top. Okay, so now we got the final step here. Kind of mix our vegetables around. Let's add a little bit more thyme. A little more rosemary. And at this point, we're going to take our spoon and kind of press those vegetables into the casserole. There we go. That's looking really good. So you can see our casserole is ready for the oven. And we're going to bake this at 350 degrees. Okay, so we're going to remove the casserole now from the oven. Looks great. There we have it. So I'm going to let this cool for about 10 minutes before we cut it. So our casserole has been setting for about 10 to 15 minutes. It's able to cut. You could use a knife or you could use a spoon. I do like to use a knife so I can have like some nice edges on it. So we'll just kind of begin cutting it. Always make sure you get the edge as well. Those little corners. You can cut as big or as small as you like. We'll cut a little bigger because this is a vegan vegetarian recipe, so the calories on vegetables are a lot less than if we would have like meat and cheese and bacon and stuff. I do have a little extra parsnip puree that we're going to use as garnish on the actual plate. All right, so there we go. So cut around the edge and then you twist. That's how you get your avocado off. And then to get the seed out, just kind of lightly twist it around just like that. There you go. Okay, what I like to do with my avocado is hold it like this. I never hold it in case I slip and cut through the avocado. I don't want to cut my hand. So I would not recommend cutting avocados like that in case you slip and cut your hand like that. Okay, let me grab a spoon. Now you have your avocado cut, so just take your spoon. Just scoop it out just like that. Now we have some nice little pieces for garnish. Okay. I will wash my hands after that. All right, guys, so now we have our casserole on the plate. It's ready to go. We had a little bit of extra of the parsnip puree that we garnished the plate with. And we also have some toasted walnuts, fresh chopped parsley, a little bit of mixed salad greens that I will season with olive oil and salt and pepper, and a little bit of avocado and a little bit of radish on there for a garnish. Okay, so let's start by just adding a little bit of olive oil to the greens. A little bit of seasoning. And it's just salt and pepper. Just going to mix that. More oil in there. Right. Little fresh greens on there. Okay. Now let's add our avocado. All right. A little fresh avocado on there. A little couple radishes. Beautiful color. Some walnuts. And just a little bit of parsley. Alright, so now we have our dish ready to go, guys. It's the Healthy Winter Casserole with parsnip gravy, a little bit of casserole on there, avocado, walnuts, parsley, and then a little bit of fresh greens. Enjoy!